My name is Becky Grigsby, and I'm here at the beautiful and peaceful Ontario campgrounds, in the middle of nowhere, right in the heart of the great metropolis of Priceville, Ontario. I want to give a quick shout out to all those who chose to fast for 36 hours with Erica and I. If you're one of those people, I invite you to type #FAST in the Zoom's chat box. I hope it's going well for you. We are over the halfway mark and have only 15 and a half hours left. You're doing awesome. Prior to COVID, what we do at Fastathon is we come to this location from all over Ontario. We build community and we learn about the wonderful work that World Accord is doing in Latin America and Asia. We hear success stories and we apply the knowledge and skills to our own lives to help us create deeper meaning of the effect World Accord has on theirs. For the next 20 minutes or so, we are going to take a deeper look at our theme for this year's Fastathon. This year we are discussing what can you do to support World Accord within your community. We're going to see examples of what many are doing or have done within their community. Many already donate and attend Fastathon, and we appreciate that support and we thank you. But as you watch, I'd like you to think about what more can you do. Feel free to post those ideas in the chat. If you wish to make a monetary donation, I will post the link in the chat throughout the entire presentation. After the video, we will begin our bingo event, and directions will be given at that time. Have a wonderful night, and thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, my name is David Barth. I'm the Executive Director of World Accord International Development Agency. This video clip is intended for people who would like to know a little bit more about World Accord who probably haven't really heard of us or know much about us. So I'll just start by saying that World Accord is a registered Canadian charity. We're a small organization working here in Waterloo, Ontario, and we support the community development initiatives of local partners working overseas. And how is that done? Well, they basically work to help empower the people, and that's done through a series of different types of trainings and then access to resources that allow them to get ahead. So sometimes they start off by organizing as communities rather than being a collection of poor individuals, but then they take different trainings, learn to do different things. They have access to funds, microcredit funds, they have access to training. The idea being that over this period of time that they will start to develop a system for themselves of understanding that when they work towards bettering their lives through the program, that they start to get the results that they want. So if they follow the program, they will make changes. And this is something that becomes cultural. It becomes something that just changes through this long exposure and becomes habitual. That if this, then that. And that's what this is kind of about. We mostly are working in rural areas, mostly with some of the poorest people in the communities. And a lot of it is agricultural in nature, and primarily we try to help women and girls because it's really about empowering women and girls to help be able to have more control over their own lives. So that's kind of how it works. We do support the partners overseas. We use local partners because they really understand the local context, they understand the problems, and they understand the solutions best and which things might not work at all. So I mean, working through a local partner just makes sense from a cultural perspective, from an empowerment perspective, and from a financial perspective. And these things all work together to make it so that when we work with our partners overseas, the people in the communities end up being better off. They become empowered to take charge of their own futures. That's the goal. Thank you very much. Enjoy Fastathon.
Looking for something fun to do with their family, Chad and Shannon Daly decided to tap into the natural resources found on their property, and in the winter of 2013-2014, the Reserve Maple Products was born. Using resources on the Daly property, the family worked together to collect the sweet water. boiling it into the delicious form we all know and love, maple syrup. They started their season with only 40 taps and discovered that it would be a great fundraiser for World Accord. The operation has since grown to 1,000 taps and produces 1,000 liters of maple syrup in a season. All filtering and bottling is done by hand by the family, with 100% of sales going to World Accord and used by their partners where needed. It is the best maple syrup you've ever tasted, and the next time you enjoy the reserve maple syrup, you are empowering communities in developing countries around the world. They sell the maple syrup in 250 milliliter bottles, 500 milliliter bottles, and 1 liter bottles. But Chad and Shannon didn't stop there. The family has recently installed beehives and will soon be adding honey and honey products to the list of items to be sold, with the proceeds going to World Accord and their partners.
For Fastathon 2021, the question is, what can we do for World Accord? Well, my wife Sandy Annett and myself, guessed it, it's chocolate. Let's go back to the beginning. We talked about doing a social enterprise, but this didn't come at the start. At the beginning, it was a book about chocolate that I gave Sandy for Christmas. And this turned into an eventual birthday gift for her, and we called it the IKEA chocolate bar. So the birthday gift really was the premier chocolate refiner, but it came with some cocoa butter, or I purchased the cocoa butter and some cocoa nibs and a thermometer to temper the chocolate, and we were on our way. Let's go back to what chocolate's all about. This is a cocoa pod. A cocoa pod grows in various places. It's always tropical. This one here happens to be from Honduras, and they grow right out of the stalk of the tree, about 8 to 10 inches long. On the inside, you have a sweet and delicious fruit that's a little bit like a lychee with the cocoa bean at the center. It's the seed. And we need to have that whole fruit and the seed go into the fermentation bins. These fermentation bins are made of wood, and these seeds have been fermented with the fruit for about 5 to 7 days. And after the fermentation process, then you dry it really well in the sun, and then you're ready to start thinking about making cocoa. So this is how we get it. There's Sandy with a 5-kilogram sack of cocoa beans from Venezuela, and they have already been fermented and dried, and we're ready to roast. So after the roasting process, which we do at home, that's a bit of a close-up of your cocoa beans. You can see they have a shell on the outside, and we have to grind them up and get them ready to actually make into chocolate. We have to create nibs from this. There's the grinding process. We have something called a Frankenstein that I kind of made a hopper for, and we end up grinding the beans in that, but then it still has all of the shell. So we made a winnower. This is a vacuum winnower, and where I'm dropping those shells, they're going down that tube and into the pot. And what's happening is the heavy stuff goes down, the nibs go down, but the vacuum sucks the air up the tube, and so all the light stuff like the shells and bits of dust and whatnot from the process go up the tube, and they get caught in that food grade bucket, and then we just have separated the shells from the nibs. And there you can see the nibs, they're all nice and clean. We still go through after usually and pick them out by hand if there's any that get through the system. They're awfully bitter, and so they can really affect the taste of your chocolate. Here we are grinding it up in our melanger. And this melanger inside of the stainless steel container has a stone base, a couple of stone wheels, and it just grinds away. We have this in here with some the nibs, some powdered milk, some organic cane sugar, and some organic cocoa butter. And it'll grind away for 20 to 24 hours. And in that time, the particle size will get down below 15 microns and give you a super smooth mouthfeel with the chocolate. The next thing you have to do, of course, is temper it. If you don't temper it, you get something that turns out to be a little bit like fudge. But there's 6 different types of crystals that will start to form in the cocoa butter lattice work. And they're not good. They will break it down and you will get this powdery, dusty, crumbly chocolate. It still has a nice flavor and you can always heat it back up and retemper it again. But the idea is to temper it properly in the first place. And so you want to have only one type of crystal structure. So it's a bit finicky. It's the most challenging part of the process is to temper the chocolate well. And there we have some molds that we bought that we can use to mold the chocolate into bars. Here you can see that I'm pouring tempered chocolate into the mold, and when it comes out and it's properly tempered, you can see how shiny it is. The other aspect of a tempered chocolate that's really tempered well is it will also be really strong and it'll have a snap when it breaks. And the other part of that, of course, is it keeps its shape and keeps its crystal structure. So we've made several different kinds over the years. This was just a couple of years ago. We got this set going and started playing with it and having lots of fun. It's a really great hobby. But before you know it, people started to want to buy stuff. And so we started the Caritas Chocolate Company as a social enterprise. We didn't really want to be in business because, we both have good jobs and we just really wanted to do something for World Accord and have fun while we did it. And making chocolate really is a fun hobby. So we thought we'd make it a hobby social enterprise. And so we started the Caritas Chocolate Company. My daughter, Ariana, she designed all the logos there, and all of our wrappers were designed by her as well. So we could find and make everything that we needed to make nice looking bars, and so that's what we've done. And we took part of this from the maple syrup. So my friend Chad Daly and his wife Shannon and their kids have this maple syrup business that they've started up, and it's the same thing. They're doing it as like a hobby social enterprise. 100% of the sale in these hobby social enterprises goes into the charity. And so you can often buy directly from the charity by sending a Interac email. And then Chad and Shannon, and for the chocolate, for us, we just get a tax receipt. And those help to offset the costs. They don't offset any of your time. That's really just a hobby, and you do it for fun and for love of the charity. But you generally get enough tax receipts to help offset a majority of the costs of looking after this hobby social enterprise. So here you can see, and this is one of the cool things about doing origin chocolate, is that we've made several different kinds. We have this 72% chocolate. One is Sur de Lago from Venezuela, one is Caranero from Venezuela, and you also can see in the dark we have an Ucayali 72 dark from Peru. They have quite different flavors, and they have the exact same recipe. So what you're getting is just a difference in the flavors inherent in the beans. And that has to do with the genetics of the beans. It has to do with the weather. It has to do with the soil composition. And you end up getting these slightly different flavors. It's kind of like the difference between different grapes that they use to make red wines. And so you get different tasting red wines. Same type of process here. And so we end up having what they call origin chocolate, and it allows you to kind of like really get to the core of some of the very cool flavors that come out in chocolate. Then we also make some of the ones like the sugar-free mint and the chocolate orange. But that's what making chocolate is like for us. We really do enjoy the process. And what we're able to do is support World Accord with the proceeds from the sales. And back in 2020, we managed to support World Accord for $5,000 and really enjoy ourselves doing it. We ended up making lots of friends and probably putting on a couple of pounds in the process, but we have a heck of a good time. And it's the kind of thing that anybody can get into, is finding a hobby that they like that ends up being able to make money to support something that they really believe in. So thank you very much for your time. You take care, and I hope you enjoy the rest of Fastathon.
Hi everyone, my name is Catherine, and I invite you to the World Accord Virtual Pancake Breakfast, Saturday, July 10th from 8:30 to 10 a.m. We're having 2 contests. 1, pancake contest. Show off your designer pancakes. Winners will be picked for the most colorful, the highest stack, special design, and one that brings the most laughter. Our second contest is the Container Gardening Contest. Start this week. Plant your seeds. Take pictures as your seeds grow. Submit 3 pictures by email to barrycommunityofchrist@gmail.com. Winners will be picked for seed, sprout, and new growth pictures, and the most growth by July 10th. World Accord supports community gardening, seed supplies, and community initiatives around the world to ensure food security for those most in need. This year, we introduce our container gardening contest to honor the work of many where food security is vital. See you July 10th, and don't forget, donate to World Accord. Thanks, everyone.
Hi, my name is Erica. I started making candle holders for a Christmas present. And then my Opa and I came up with a good idea to sell them for World Accord. I made about 20 of them so far. It takes about, 1 to 3 hours to make one, because you need the glue dry and stuff. And I'm excited to make more, and I hope you guys like them.
With a hopeful heart, I can see a bright tomorrow. With a hopeful heart, I can take my neighbor's hand. With a hopeful heart, I can hear 10,000 voices rejoicing now that peace has reached their land. With a hopeful heart, I can put my pain behind me. With a hopeful heart, I can learn to love again. With a hopeful heart, I could surely learn forgiveness, and we could reconcile again. God grant me a hopeful heart, make it faithful and true. God grant me a hopeful heart, so many things that I can do. With a hopeful heart, I can see our children playing. With a hopeful heart, there's no hunger in their eyes. With a hopeful heart, their innocence is sheltered, and their souls are filled with life. God, grant me a hopeful heart, make it faithful and true. God, grant me a hopeful heart, so many things that I can do. With a hopeful heart, I can see us stand together. Different colors, different cultures, different creeds. With a hopeful heart, there is nothing we can't accomplish as living witnesses to peace. God, grant me a hopeful heart, make it faithful and true. God, grant me a hopeful heart, so many things that I can do, so many things that we can do.